All right. Thanks for coming back, everybody. We're really excited to have another session lined up for you. So today we have two representatives, one from Framasoft and one from both April and Quadrature Du Net. So Pouhiou, the person standing right in front of the Framasoft background, is obviously our Framasoft representative. And then we have Eda Nano from April and Quadrature Du Net. So I think a good idea to start us off would be, Pouhiou, could you give a short introduction to yourself and also Framasoft and your work?
Yes, of course. Well, so I'm Pouhiou. I've done a lot of things in my life, but I'm mostly an artist and I've been a novelist. And well, I've realized that my novels were completely free, so I put them under CC0 license. And that led me to meet Framasoft, because Framasoft is a French non-profit that does lots of things, and all the actions of Framasoft has the same common ground, that is being some kind of a missing link between the free software, tech, geek, savvy lovers and passionate people and everyday kind of people. You know, and we try to be a missing link. And for example, Framasoft had and still have a publishing house for novels and books and manuals that are free libre. So they published my novels, and that's how we met. And now, and I've done a lot for Framasoft, and I'm right now working for Framasoft as a co-director.
Yeah, that's really cool. Eda? It's a little rundown of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so hello. So I'm a programmer and I'm a member of the board of April. So April is like the counterpart of FSF here in France. So it's an organization that defends and promotes free software. And I'm also a member of la Quadrature du Net. So maybe you know it better as LQDN. So this is the counterpart of the EFF that you have there in the States. So yeah, so I define myself as a free software lover and privacy defender.
So welcome both. Thank you so much for putting in the time and joining us today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the project PeerTube, which is one of the projects from Framasoft, which is how I actually sort of got to know you, and also one of the projects that I think stand out to me the most as something that is that just has a lot of future. And I wanted to ask you a little bit if you can talk to us a little bit about the importance of federated social media, federated channels, and maybe also the intention behind PeerTube, because from what I understand, it wasn't meant to be a YouTube competitor, was it?
No, well, we don't think it should be presented as a YouTube killer, because it's not. Because we won't compare Framasoft, that is a small French non-for-profit. We are 35 members, we have 9 employees. We won't compare Framasoft to Google. We've tried, and we've realized that we live on donation, just as the FSF, and we've realized that the money we get in 1 year is about 2.7 seconds of Google's money. You know, so we can't compare. Okay, it's not the same thing.
Well, I think that's important to mention also. That's an important thing I think to think about, is that as free software organizations, we have to compete with these organizations that have a lot of money to spend.
Yes.
So, and that's a challenge.
That's a big challenge, but we can do things better because we don't have their economic model, their business model. And that's the key difference here. We don't have to keep our monopoly for ourselves, and we don't have to keep people kind of enslaved to our software, you know, because we want to free people. That's what we want. So we can do things differently. And that's what we try to do with PeerTube. PeerTube is a software that is here to help you broadcast your videos online. There was already a lot of software that did that, but we we thought that there were two problems. If you open your software, your platform, your video broadcasting platform to everyone, soon you'll become a single point of data concentration. You'll need bigger hard drives, you'll need bigger work on system administration, and you'll become a giant very soon. And you'll need bigger broadband and things like that. So how can we do for small people and small organizations and communities to give them back the power to host their own videos and their friends' videos and things like that? We needed to do not one giant, but a network of small video platforms. But if I have one small video platform, I have few videos, I don't know, 10, 100 videos, that's not really interesting. I mean, people go to YouTube because there is everything on YouTube, every kind of video you can imagine. So how can we do to share that together? Well, we've thought about federation through ActivityPub. That is the language that every video hoster, every PeerTube instance can talk together, so they can share their video catalog. And I can be on one instance, I can be on La Quadrature Du Net PeerTube and watch Framasoft videos on there, because we are federated, we are synchronized together. And that is decentralization at its best, and that is how the web should be, I think, you know. And there is another thing in PeerTube that is peer-to-peer broadcasting. Peer-to-peer broadcasting, when you host videos, you have to fear success. If one video is having a lot of momentum, a lot of buzz, a lot of success, your server might go down because everyone goes and download your video from your server. Streaming is downloading. So your server might go down. So we thought, well, let's just use good old-fashioned peer-to-peer and make broadcasting from the server to the people, but from the people to the people too, you know? And by just using those little things, well, we have a game changer, meaning that everyone does not want to be on PeerTube, does not want their video broadcasting system to be with a money-making and advertisement system. So maybe we can give a new tool for those people.
That's something that's really inspiring to me when I think about, you know, the difference between federated services like PeerTube and then Google, is because, you know, Google has to focus on drawing people into the attention economy. You know, they're focused in a way that a free software project doesn't have to be focused on. So like, just like you said, the free software project can focus on empowering users through not only just by virtue of the fact that the software is free, but it can, you know, it doesn't create the same kind of harmful patterns when it comes to how users are treated, right? Like PeerTube has no mechanism that just continually loops them into an algorithm or something like that. You know, it serves them in other interests too, which is really, you know, something that's really cool to think about.
Yeah, and well, that is it is one difficulty, because when we think about video, online videos, we culturally think about YouTube, you know, because YouTube has invaded our lives and our digital lives. So we have to take a step back and say, hey, we are not YouTube, we are not Google. What can we do that they can't do? Because they can't do lots of things. I have one small example that I really love. You know, how on YouTube you can share videos with a time code for the start of the video, and you won't start. Well, in PeerTube we can share with the end also.
Yes.
It's a very small feature to code. It's quite nothing to code. You can just say, okay, the video I will show you, it's not a video, a complete video, it's just a clip from 1 minute 50 to 2 minutes 20, you know? And that's so empowering, because now you can use playlist as a kind of remix tool. Yeah. And you can use that for teachers, you can use that for artists. It's great. And Google doesn't have the incentive to do that, because they want to keep your attention.
I think empowering is really the right word for that, because you really make the medium more of a tool for the user. at that in a way, if you think about it in that way, because that way, indeed, a user can decide how much of a particular video they will share or consume the time of their viewers even, and you can make an entire compilation like that, which also allows for more flow between different videos that normally would have nothing to do with each other. So I think it's a great example of something that we can do.
Yes, and really empowering people is so in my mind the way to go. And if you realize, it was a big realization on me when I realized that proprietary software and private software had to add a lot and lots and lots of lines of code just to protect the software. You know, with DRM and things like that, they had to work a lot more than us. And it's exactly the same that they have to do to make people, to close people into their platform and to keep their attention. You know, they have to add a lot of things. And when you say, okay, I don't need to keep people's attention, I just want them to give them a tool, and the tool should not use them and use their attention. They should be able to use the tool and to stop using it as soon as they want. That's the first freedom, you know.
Yeah.
Number 0, but that's the first freedom to use and not to use.
And to control, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to control.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, that is so freeing, because you can think about very new features. We are right now also developing a federated alternative to Facebook events and groups. And there is a lot of things that Mobilizen, it's the name, won't do. And that is so freeing, you know. When you don't have to put likes and put numbers of subscribers and things like that, that is so freeing, actually. Because the tool just stays a tool, and that's great.
Yeah, and you don't, so I think we all understand the concept of especially social media from the bigger corporations that are currently so successful in the proprietary world, that their main purpose is to keep people glued to their medium, whereas Europe, and make money by doing that. So throwing in a commercial every once in a while and just making sure that you time all of the videos at the right time, as long as they are centered on their medium, just consuming whatever it is that they want you to consume. Whereas your approach is almost the opposite in that sense. And I think that's a really interesting way of looking, I think, at free software in general. But the way you're presenting it through how Framasoft is approaching all these different tools, I think, is very interesting.
Well, this approach didn't come from nowhere. It was really a work in progress. And it's because there are lots of great free software coders that developed before us. Things like Mastodon, for example, was really mind-blowing. And each and every one of us make one step further towards freedom, towards control, and we add on each other's work. And that's how it should be, I think. But that's really great, because
I think that's also the concept of copyleft, even. Like, if you go push it all the way back to its core, of course, the idea of copyleft is that art is something that doesn't exist solely within the artist, but it's something that grows by community, through community, with creativity from the outside, and that it continues to be growing. And I think that's something that you really, you grasped that, and then you just ran with it.
Yes,
right.
We have a saying in French that is when you add your creation to the creations that inspired you, you climb on top of giants' shoulders. You know.
Oh, we have that here.
Okay,
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it was in English.
No, yeah, and it's something that's, you can almost look at any part of PeerTube or another piece of free software as sort of like a proprietary piece of software, but there are just so many things that you can focus on, just like that clip feature, and say okay, if YouTube has been around since 2004 or 2006, and it's the main place where people watch videos, you would think that somewhere someone would have thought, oh, maybe we should let users clip videos, and it kind of clues you into the intention that YouTube does exist to be the best video player in the world. It exists for a specific purpose, right?
Yes.
And you know, in free software, we often will refer to a feature that no user would want as an anti-feature, right? So like the DRM preventing, you know, locking down a lot of YouTube videos is a very obvious anti-feature.
Yes.
And you can, it's so great that software like PeerTube exists, because you can almost take any element like that and think about it in conjunction with a piece of proprietary software and say like, oh, I see how this one serves users, and I see how this one really does not. So it's always like really great to hear about those features, because there's like on either side, there's a thinking that went behind it. Like on the YouTube side, it's okay, you have to prevent users from you know, sharing this video in like in a restricted way or something. But on PeerTube, it's like, how can we promote, you know, how can we encourage users to share more? And that's really great.
To me, that's kind of the definition of design. Design is what I design my tool to be, you know, and it is a will. It is, well, what we want for this software. I know that there are people that just love to code and just code for their own pleasure. But mostly when you are doing a software, you're doing for some people, for some reason, and with a purpose in mind. And stating first your purpose, and then imagining the software that will fit your purpose and that will be the best software for the people you want to serve, that is really great, because you have to come out of your shell, come out of your own vision of the world that is, of course, your vision with your culture, with things like that, and ask the people that are the people you want to make a software for, what their software will be. And it is really, really a great adventure. It is quite more difficult than just doing a software for your own pleasure, you know, but it is really a great adventure because it is a collective one.
Yeah. I think that's very interesting, and I think we can all agree that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of appeal to the greater community to using this. But what I think is also very special about the way PeerTube approached this system is how this broadcasting community is something that is larger than just the commercial purpose, and how you're bringing it to the community to really sort of help with things like education and how you have other initiatives that are a little bit more under the radar, but where PeerTube is playing quite a big role. So maybe we can talk. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we've had the great surprise, actually, to have the French Ministry of Education that contacted us. Well, some people in the ministry, of course, not the whole ministry, but some people in the ministry had a project to make a platform for teachers in France, a platform with free software. And they wanted to have PeerTube on their platform. But they needed some SSO, you know, single sign-on applications that we didn't have yet. So they wanted us to. They said, "Okay, we can pay you to develop this." And so we've had for the first time.
Just to get it straight, one second.
Yes.
Just to put some emphasis on this, the government paid you to develop a free software project.
They paid us to develop, to contribute to a free software project. And we were really surprised because in the previous years, we've had lots of contracts between the French Ministry of Education and Microsoft, the French Ministry of Education and Google. So we thought it was a hopeless, you know, it was a lost kind of a lost cause. And we've had this surprise. They contacted us and they paid us to develop so LDAP, OAuth, and another single sign-on system, and add them to PeerTube, and not just for their own benefit, of course. It was a free software contribution. So now if anyone can use LDAP and OAuth on their PeerTube, it's thanks to the French Ministry of Education that paid us for that. And I think, well, that gives me some hope.
Yeah, me too. I think that. I mean, it's very good. So how are you using these your channel in education? Like, how are people using it?
Actually, they went a little early because of to stay at home and confinement. So it's still in beta, and they opened earlier to help teachers that had to make classes with the pandemic. But so they each land in France has what we call an academy, which is a representation in the land of the Ministry of Education, and each academy has its own platform where teachers can log themselves onto one PeerTube, one Nextcloud. I think there is some Etherpad and things like that. So,
I think Eda can talk a little bit more about this as well, right?
More, because that's not my that's more.
I saw Eda nodding. I think Eda is very aware of these projects.
I think you're talking about apps.education.fr,
exactly,
which was a project that came later during the quarantine COVID first period. So at the beginning, everybody was like, okay, what are we going to do? We don't have enough bandwidth. Everything is going down. So the ministry said, okay, people, go to Framasoft. Framasoft said, okay, we cannot take all friends, one. And second, okay, we're a small organization. We don't have the money you have. So please, you cannot do that. So you have to do something. You are the government, you are the Ministry of Education, so you have to take your responsibilities and do something. So I know that this initiative, which is apps.education.fr, which is a platform with different kind of free software services, like PeerTube, like pads, like Etherpads for collaborative documentations, document and spreadsheets also, Ethercalc. There's also what is it there also? Maybe there is Jitsi Meet for video conference. I think there is, and they also added some big blue button instances so that teachers can teach with free software. So
and what I thought when you told us before, when we were talking before a little bit, you told us that one of the things that you're doing with Etherpad, for example, is that you're also helping people set up instances so they can use their own Etherpads and Ethercalcs, right?
So I'll come to that later, but just to finish with apps, sorry. So
no, you're fine.
It was an initiative that came from some teachers at the, not teachers, but some employees at the Ministry of Education, and it was like 3 or 4 people who did it, and then the ministry said, oh, okay, that's not so bad, and then they said, okay, but we don't know if we are going to keep it, and now we're very happy because they kept it and they are going to put more power on it, so we hope that it will last. So it's a good initiative.
I think it will come out of beta in the
it came out, I think. Oh, okay. I maybe it came out, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. Maybe I'm dreaming and then. Yeah. So what you were talking about, Zoe, is something that actually Framasoft played a big role in that, which is the Chaton initiative,
yes,
which is the kittens. So I'm showing to you a small kitten.
Oh. I can see it.
Okay, so the kittens. So the Chaton are a federation of hosters that are local, that are small, that are sometimes organizations, sometimes enterprises, and they can give to you emails, clouds, other services like Etherpad, like I don't know, like GTmeet for you or for your family or for your work. So the idea is that Framasoft cannot take all friends in its services. So let's do a lot of instances of this. Like, let's spread Framasoft everywhere. Let's make a lot of kittens, and they are all around France. So that if I need a service, I can go to my local kitten, Chaton, and tell to them, okay, I need this, and talk to them. And if I want to participate, I can participate by contributing, by my time, by my skills, and not only by money. So this is the idea. It's to be local, to be together, to help each other, and not to go to big monopolistic enterprises like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft. So what we call GAFAM here in France.
And for the audience, for the widespread audience, for people, Caton is some kind of a label too, you know, some kind of something you will recognize, some kind of brand. I don't like this word, but you know what I mean, because each kitten has chosen to follow a charter and a manifesto, which are the values and the commitments. And those commitments are free software only, no respect of privacy, respect of net neutrality, things like that, transparency about the books, about things like that. So that's really important to say, well, you'll know what you'll get when you come to a chaton. Maybe you won't have a big company service, you'll have a small organization service, but you'll have something very more human and something, it's like, you know, the organic food, but for digital services.
So can anyone just join a kitten? I'm not going to even try the French. So can anyone just join one of these places?
Just ask, come and
yes.
talk.
Anyone can make a kitten, can be a kitten. For example, at April, we have a kitten. So once a month, we get together with the other kittens and we talk. We have our meeting, our monthly meeting, and anyone can make a kitten. We have people that are only 2 or 3 that are kittens, others that are more, and anyone can join a kitten. What we do is, I think Framasoft launched it. It's workshops of Ungooglify yourself workshops, I think you called it. So I like to call them Ungafamize yourself workshop, because there is not only Google. So what we do in this workshop is that we ask people, what do you need? What are your needs? Or what are your practice, digital practice? And we will show you some free alternatives that are good for you, that are good with your privacy, that don't make publicity of your data, and then we take the list of the kittens and we show them and we tell them, okay, this is near your place, so maybe you can go here. This one has the specificity of being more cloudy thing. This one is good for messaging, so go there for the messaging, go there for the cloud, go there for the emails. So yeah, that's how we do it. Without them, without the kittens, we could not do that.
Yeah, that's so great. And like, it's come up so many times while we've been planning this session, but it's always incredible to see how interconnected the French free software community really is with one another. You know, from Framasoft and April and everybody, you're just always in Quadrature, of course. Yeah, you're all just always working together.
Yes.
And it's something that I think can really be a model for, you know, free software organization in other countries, because France is really leading the way on that one, I think.
I think so. It's really inspiring to talk to people from France, because one of the things that you notice when you're talking to one organization is that they're always referring and mentioning other organizations as well, who they're somehow collaborating with. And what I think is sort of a key about the way that it works in France is indeed that you have an organization like April or La Quadrature Du Net, Eda, that you are associated with, that actually go out and you talk to the government and you talk to organizations and you talk to institutions and important bodies and you ask them what they need. And then you go to Framasoft, and then Framasoft goes, okay, here you have it. And if we don't have it, we'll develop it for you. And this is just something that I think works really well. And to me, like, it feels to me like everyone in France uses only free software.
Well, no, that's not. I wish it was.
There's a lot of work to do.
Yes, there's still a lot of work. That's not ideal, like you've said it, but that's what we are trying to do. And it is not very intuitive at first because, well, having to think, well, we must have a meeting or a chat with April, with La Quadrature, and just have a drink together, you know, or have a big blue button together now, but a digital drink. But, well, it takes time, and we've already run out of time because all of us are just passionate people, free software lovers. And so we take on our own time, or on our nights, on our work time, on our family time. So we don't have time, but taking this time to meet and talk with our peers, actually, it pays in the end. It's a long run thing, you know. So it's not really intuitive at first because we have so much to do, and taking some time to have a chat and not being productive is not in our culture. But it is really, really a great bet to make.
I was wondering, now that we've talked a little bit about how free software is a little bit more like in the minds of people in France, I was wondering if you could talk about how the average French person might think of like the GAFAM group of companies, because in the US, you know, there's a little bit of animosity, but it doesn't seem nearly as like pronounced as like, you know, as it is like for the average person in France, like their, you know, dislike of companies like Google.
I really have the impression that people now know that GAFAMs are evil, that they use their data, that they use it for publicity, that there is surveillance going through GAFAMs, and we know it since Edward Snowden revealed the scandal in 2013. So I think I have the impression that in France, at least, people know that there are problems, that these tools are not very good with their privacy. They are making like social trees of their behavior, of their friends. They know this stuff. But what we see is that it's more and more difficult to get out of it. This is the problem. It's more and more difficult to get out of Facebook because all of your friends are there. It is even for us. I mean, I'm a technician, I'm a developer, and when I have to go to the internet to see the press and to go to a lot of websites, so I can see that I'm tracked. I have publicity everywhere. I have to. So you know, in Europe we have the GDPR directive, and most of the websites, they are not following it. So you can see it when you go online, and freeing yourself and being not tracked is being more and more complicated. For example, I have a telephone which came with the Google software, and I rooted it and I put it a free OS on it. So it took me 6 hours. It was difficult. I'm passing all my holidays when I go to my family to free all their phones. So I'm not sleeping at night because I'm freeing the phones of my mom, of my dad. So,
and you're a technician. 6 hours for you.
6 hours.
Not for me. For me, it would be not smart.
Yeah, it's impossible. So people are asking me, oh, please, we want to free our phones. What can we do? But most of the time, sometimes it's not possible at all. Sometimes it's possible, but it's 6 hours of my time. So I don't have this infinite time. So I would like to have like pseudo infinite time. You know? But I don't. So it's more and more difficult. So people know it, but they are, I don't know how to say it. They are ruled by it. So it's very difficult. We at April, for example, we are doing a lot of political advocacy because our governments can change things, actually. If our governments decide that in the public field, we do not use proprietary software, we do not put patents on software, Actually, in Europe, it's a little bit better than in the US, that we do not put DRMs on our software. If the government decides it, then it's okay. Then it's good. Then it's easy. But every time we try to do something, so we go at April, we go to speak to the parliament, we go to speak to do some lobbying at the politicians, to mayors of town halls, and when we think that maybe it's going somewhere, maybe they will put some free messaging software instead of Microsoft, then boom, it comes, like a contract with Microsoft comes from nowhere, and it's and they can afford it. So at the first time, Microsoft is not is cheap, because it's like the drug dealer. It gives you a cheap contract, and then after you have to stay on Microsoft, because everybody in your town hall, in your city, in your ministry is on Microsoft, and they are used to it. So it's really, really, really difficult, and we have to keep fighting. And also another thing is that we are surrounded by surveillance tools now, and I mean it's going on and on and on, and even if we try to stop it or to say, okay, we have to think about it first, you have to ask our permission before putting cameras on all our cities, that's going on. Actually, safe cities are spreading everywhere. So
right.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's just like, I was kind of blown away by the 6 hours comment on like how long it takes you as a technician. But on the other hand, like, it's so valuable that we have people who can do that for people who aren't free software lovers like us, who aren't always, you know, messing with our GPG keys and everything else. You know? But yeah, and it's like the value that like one person can have if they become, you know, if they choose to be the person who like wants to set their friends and family with free software, that's like such a net value to the entire free software community, because they're giving people their freedom, which otherwise they wouldn't have found. Because, you know, maybe they have a little bit of a sense of animosity about it, or they know that, you know, that they're using a lot of non-free software and they don't really like it. But I think there's such value to somebody choosing to be that person to whom people can go to and say, you know, will you help me put gnu+linux on my machine, or will you help me to that? Like, that's always so cool to see. Yeah, and it's like, and it doesn't have to be from 0 to 100 either. You know, you can't go there all in a single day. And helping, you know, anyone that you know just take those small incremental steps is what's going to get everybody using free software. So that's really cool.
Yeah, to be more positive, for example, here in Marseille, because I live in Marseille, which is kind of the second biggest city in France, we have a lot of workshops going on. We have the monthly workshop of installing gnu+linux. So it goes on for 4 hours, and you can install every gnu+linux that you want, and we advise people, and we say to them, okay, you need this, we'll put you on this OS. And then we have the monthly workshop of Free Your Digital Life, where we take people out of GAFAMs and show them other software, or when we free their telephones, if we can. And we have also like the monthly gathering of all the communities around free software. And I mean, it's not only in Marseille. I saw it in Paris. I saw it in Tirana. Tirana is the capital of Albania. I'm from Albania also. So I left Albania when I was 17 years old, and then I went back there like last year and found the open lab place where free software advocates were doing exactly the same as here, and I was so happy. They were so good at it. Right. So they also, the good thing is that there were a lot of girls there and very few boys, and it was so nice to meet them. So hi to them. So everywhere, in every city, we have these local organizations that are doing things. We have members of April in every city. So we gather together and we decide to do workshops together. So that's good. So little by little, maybe we will go somewhere.
Yes. And I think that's the important thing, what you both just said. That's the important thing. I used to say to people, well, GAFAMs, they have customer services and support services and things like that. And if you've ever been to any customer support services online on the phone, you know that it is just one circle of hell. And in free software, we don't have that. We have community. And that is the key thing, because people in France see GAFAM's services as a necessary evil, you know, and sometimes when you say to them, well, it is toxic, I'm sorry to tell you, it is really, really toxic to your life, not just your digital life, you see all their defenses mechanism go up, you know, and raise their defenses. I have nothing to hide. My data is already lost and things like that. And you know, they don't really think that. You know, they feel down inside that this is toxic and this is a problem. But yeah, of course, it is very difficult to admit that and to know that you need to change. And
to know that there is another way, that you don't have to submit to this.
Yes, and telling them, hey, calm down, there is an alternative, and please don't change all your digital habits from one day to the next. Because
you can actually stand up for your rights. Yeah.
Please don't change all at once, but stand up for your rights and change your habits one day at a time. It's okay, it's a process, you know, but it's a great process, and this process, we can accompany it with the humanity, because that is what we have in free software. We are really human and we have a community. That's what I like about it.
Actually, free software is not so much about software, because software is good and free software is like what it should be. But what is good in free software is like the free spirit. It's like the spirit of community, of sharing, of participating, of showing to somebody else that something different is possible, of ethical life, of ethical responses to things. So it's the spirit that counts, actually. So that's why you guys are very important at FSF, because you're like the founder of this spirit. So we all came from you. I know that April, for example, was born with your help here in France. Fred, which was one of the founders, told me that they began by translating some GNU projects, and little by little you encouraged them, and then they became April. So we all come from you, so thanks a lot, but we all also learn from each other, and I'm very happy that Framasoft did what they do, and I'm so happy to see you, Pouhiou, and
you.
At the last La Quadrature meeting, we said we should get together more often and do things together, like April, La Quadrature, and Framasoft. So let's do that next time.
Yes. Of course, of course.
That's really I think these were really great points to round up on a little bit, because I'm afraid that we're already we already have to start rounding up, right?
We need to say at least one last thing.
Yeah,
it's
please
happy
do.
Birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you in general. I think like I said before, the way you collaborate, the way you speak about free software, the way you put it in practice, and the way you build on each other, I think is really inspiring, and it's fun, because some of the projects that you speak about, Eda, also happen here. So we're also doing some projects in education and things like that. And the way you speak about it, it feels very similar, because it's always great to see what you said, Pouhiou, to see how a community supports each other. And it's not just like, it's not top down or up. It's really sort of together that you're doing these things. And it's always good to see these initiatives everywhere in the world. And I want to just thank you both for your work that you're doing, and also for jumping on this call today with us. I wish we could do more.
Well, thank you for inviting us, and thank you for the inspiration.
Yes, thanks a lot. It was very nice.
Please both submit to gnu+linux, because I know that I think everyone would love to see more of what you have to say.
With pleasure.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. So what we're going to do now is we are going to a pre-recorded video from our founder, RMS. We'll show that, and after that we will have an FSF history quiz, which will be presented by our very own Craig Topham. And we're excited about it. We'll switch over.